On the 17th of June 2009, two British tourists, Rhys Williams and Bradley Cawthorne, had gone missing while vacationing on the east coast of South Africa. The two young men had come to the country to watch the British Lions rugby team play the world champions, South Africa. Although their last known whereabouts were in the city of Durban, according to their families in the UK, the boys were last known to be on their way to the center of the KwaZulu-Natal province, 260 kilometers away, to explore the abandoned tourist site of the Battle of Rorke's Drift. When authorities carried out a full investigation into the Rorke's Drift area, they would eventually find evidence of the boys' disappearance. Near the banks of a tributary river, a torn Wales rugby shirt belonging to Rhys Williams was located 2 kilometers away. Nestled in the brush by the side of a back road, searchers would then find a damaged video camera, only for forensics to later confirm DNA belonging to both Rhys Williams and Bradley Cawthorne. Although the video camera was badly damaged, authorities were still able to salvage footage from the device. Footage that showed the whereabouts of both Rhys and Bradley on the 17th of June, the day they were thought to go missing. This is the story of what happened to them prior to their disappearance. Located in the center of the KwaZulu-Natal province, the famous battle site of Rorke's Drift is better known to South Africans as an abandoned and supposedly haunted tourist attraction. The area of the battle saw much bloodshed in the year 1879, in which less than 200 British soldiers, garrisoned at a small outpost, fought off an army of 4,000 fierce Zulu warriors. In the late 90s, to commemorate this battle, the grounds of the old outpost were turned into a museum and tourist center. Accompanying this, a hotel lodge had begun construction 4 kilometers away. But during the building of the hotel, several construction workers on the site would mysteriously go missing. Over a 3-month period, 5 construction workers in total had vanished. When authorities searched the area, only 2 of the original 5 missing workers were found. What was found were their remains. Located only a kilometer or so apart, these remains appeared to have been scavenged by wild animals. A few weeks after the finding of the bodies, construction on the hotel continued. 2 more workers would soon disappear, only to be found, again scavenged by wild animals. Because of these deaths and disappearances, investors brought a permanent halt to the hotel's construction, as well as to the opening of the nearby Rorke's Drift Museum. To this day, both the Rorke's Drift Tourist Center and Hotel Lodge remain abandoned. On the 17th of June 2009, Rhys Williams and Bradley Cawthorne had driven nearly 4 hours from Durban to the Rorke's Drift area. They were now driving on a long, narrow dirt road, which cut through the wide grass plains. The scenery around these plains appears very barren, dispersed only by thin, solitary trees, and unlooked from the distance by faraway hills. Further down the road, the pair passed several isolated shanty farms and traditional thatched roof huts. Although people clearly resided here, as along this route they had already passed 2 small fields containing cattle, they saw no inhabitants whatsoever. 10 minutes later, up the bending road, they finally reached the entrance of the abandoned tourist center. Bradley: "That's it in there? God, this place really is a shithole. There's barely anything here." Rhys: "Well, they never finished building this place. That's what makes it abandoned." Getting out of their Jeep for hire, they make their way through the entrance towards the museum building, nestled on the base of a large hill. Approaching the abandoned center, what they see is an old stone building exposed by weathered white paint and a red rust-eaten roof supported by old wooden pillars. Bradley: "Rhys, what the hell are those?" Rhys: "What the hell is what?" Entering the porch of the building, they find that the walls to each side of the door are displayed with 5 wooden tribal masks, each depicting a predatory animal-like face. At first glance, both Rhys and Bradley believe this to have originally been part of the tourist center. Bradley: "What do you suppose that's meant to be? A hyena or something?" Rhys: "I doubt it. Hyena's ears are round, not pointy." Bradley: A wolf then? Reese. Wolves in Africa, Brad? Really? As Reese further inspects the masks, he realizes the wood they're made from appears far younger, speculating they were put here only recently. Upon trying to enter, they quickly realize the door to the museum is locked. Reese. That's a shame. I was hoping it wasn't locked. Bradley. That's all right. Handing over the video camera to Reese, Bradley approaches the door to try and kick it open. Although Reese is heard shouting at him to stop, after several attempts, Bradley successfully manages to break open the door. Reese. What have you just done, Brad? Bradley. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't you want to go inside? Furious at Bradley for committing forced entry, Reese reluctantly joins him inside the museum. Reese. Can't believe you've just done that, Brad. Bradley. Yeah, well, I'm getting married soon. I'm stressed. The boys enter inside a large and very dark room. Now holding the video camera, Bradley follows behind Reese, leading the way with a flashlight. Exploring the room, they come across numerous things. Along the walls, they find a print of an old 19th century painting of the Rorke's Drift Battle, a poster for the 1964 film, Zulu, and an inauthentic Iselang war shield. In the center of the room, on top of a long table, they stand over a miniature of the Rorke's Drift Battle, in which small figurines of Zulu warriors besiege the outpost, defended by a handful of British soldiers. Reese, why did they leave all this behind? Wouldn't they have bought it all with them? Bradley, don't ask me. This all looks rather... Jesus! Heading towards the back of the room, the boys are suddenly startled. Reese, for God's sake, Brad, they're just mannequins. Shining the flashlight against the back wall, the light reveals 3 mannequins dressed in red coat uniforms, worn by the British soldiers at Rorke's Drift. It is apparent from the footage that both Reese and Bradley are made uncomfortable by these mannequins, the faces of which appear ghostly in their stiffness. Feeling as though they have seen enough, the boys then decide to exit the museum. Back outside the porch, the boys make their way down towards a tall white stone structure. Upon reaching it, the structure is revealed to be a memorial for the soldiers who died during the battle. Reese, seemingly interested in the memorial, studies down the list of names. Reese, Foster, C, James, C, Jones, T. There he is. Taking the video camera from Bradley, Reese films up close to one name in particular. The name he finds reads, Williams, J. From what we hear of the boys' conversation, Private John Williams was apparently Reese's 4-time great-grandfather. Leaving a wreath of red poppies down by the memorial, the boys then make their way back to the Jeep before heading down the road from which they came. 20 minutes later, down a dirt trail, they stop outside the abandoned grounds of the Rorke's Drift Hotel Lodge. Located at the base of Sinkindi Mountain, the hotel consists of 3 circular orange buildings, topped with thatched roofs. Now walking among the grounds of the hotel, the cracked pavement has given way to vegetation. The windows of the 3 buildings have been boarded up, and the thatched roofs have already begun to fall apart. Now approaching the larger of the 3 buildings, the pair are alerted by something the footage cannot see. Bradley, there, in the shade of that building, there's something in there. From the unsteady footage, the silhouette of a young boy, no older than 10, can now be seen hiding amongst the shade. Realizing they're not alone on these grounds, Reese calls out hello to the boy. Bradley, Reese, don't talk to him. Seemingly frightened, the young boy comes out of hiding, only to run away behind the curve of the building. Reese, wait, hold on a minute. Bradley, Reese, just leave him. Although the pair originally planned on exploring the hotel's interior, it appears this young boy's presence was enough for the two to call it a day. Heading back towards the Jeep, the sound of Reese's voice can then be heard bellowing as he runs over to one of the vehicle's front tires. Reese, oh God, no. Bradley soon joins him, camera in hand, to find that every one of the Jeep's tires has been emptied of air, and upon further inspection, the boys find multiple stab holes in each of them. Bradley, Reese, what the hell? Reese, I know, Brad, I know. Bradley, who's done this? Realizing someone must have slashed their tires while they explored the hotel grounds, the pair search frantically around the Jeep for evidence. What they find is a trail of small bare footprints leading away into the brush. Footprints appearing to belong to a young child, no older than the boy they had just seen on the grounds. Reese. They're child footprints, Brad. Bradley. It was that little shit, wasn't it? Initially believing this boy to be the culprit, they soon realized this wasn't possible, as the boy would have had to be in two places at once. Further theorizing the scene, they concluded that the young boy they saw may well have been acting as a decoy, while another carried out the act before disappearing into the brush, now leaving the two of them stranded. With no phone signal in the area to call for help, Reese and Bradley were left panicking over what they should do. Without any other options, the pair realized they had to walk on foot back up the trail and try to find help from one of the shanty farms. However, the day had already turned to evening, and Bradley refused to be outside this area after dark. Bradley. Are you mad? It's going to take us a good half hour to walk back up there. Reese, look around. The sun's already starting to go down and I don't want to be out here when it's dark. Arguing over what they were going to do, the boys decide they would sleep in the Jeep overnight, and by morning, they would walk to one of the shanty farms and find help. As the day drew closer to midnight, the boys had been inside their Jeep for hours. The outside night was so dark by now, they couldn't see a single shred of scenery, accompanied only by dead silence. To distract themselves from how terrified they both felt, Reese and Bradley talk about numerous subjects, from their lives back home in the UK to who they thought would win the upcoming rugby game that they were now surely going to miss. Later on, the footage quickly resumes, and among the darkness inside the Jeep, a pair of bright vehicle headlights are now shining through the windows. Unsure to who this is, the boys ask each other what they should do. Bradley. I think they might want to help us, Reese. Reese. Oh, don't be an idiot. Do you have any idea what the crime rate is in this country? Trying to stay hidden out of fear, they then hear someone get out of the vehicle and shut the door. Whoever this unseen individual is, they are now shouting in the direction of the boys' Jeep. Bradley. God, what the hell do they want? Reese. I think they want us to get out. Hearing footsteps approach, Reese quickly tells Bradley to turn off the camera. Again, the footage is turned back on, and the pair appear to be inside of the very vehicle that had pulled up behind them. Although it is too dark to see much of anything, the vehicle is clearly moving. Reese is heard up front in the passenger seat, talking to whoever is driving. This unknown driver speaks in English, with a very strong South African accent. From the sound of his voice, the driver appears to be a Caucasian male, ranging anywhere from his late 50s to mid-60s. Although they have a hard time understanding him, the boys tell the man they're in South Africa for the British and Irish Lions tour, and that they came to Rorke's Drift so Reese could pay respects to his 4-time great-grandfather. Unknown driver. Ah, rugby fans, aye? Later on in the conversation, Bradley asks the driver if the stories about the hotel's missing construction workers are true. The driver appears to scoff at this, saying it is just a made-up story. Driver. Nah, that's all rubbish. Those builders died in a freak accident. Families sued the investors into bankruptcy. From the way the voices sound, Bradley is hiding the camera very discreetly. Although hard to hear over the noise of the moving vehicle, Reese asks the driver if they are far from the next town, in which the driver responds that it won't be much longer. After some moments of silence, the driver asks the boys if either of them wants to pull over to relieve themselves. Both of the boys say they can wait, but rather suspiciously, the driver keeps on insisting they should pull over now. Driver. I would want to stop now if I was you. Toilets at that place ain't been cleaned in years. Then, almost suddenly, the driver appears to pull to a screeching halt. Startled by this, the boys ask the driver what is wrong, before the sound of their own yelling is loudly heard. Reese. Whoa, whoa. Bradley. Don't shoot. Amongst the boys' panicked yells, the driver shouts at them to get out of the vehicle. After further rummaging of the camera in Bradley's possession, the boys exit the vehicle to the sound of the night air and closing of vehicle doors. As soon as they're outside, the unidentified man drives away, leaving Reese and Bradley by the side of a dirt trail. Reese: "Why are you doing this? Why are you leaving us here?" Bradley: "Hey, you can't just leave. We'll die out here." The pair shout after him, begging him not to leave them in the middle of nowhere. But amongst the outside darkness, all the footage shows are the taillights of the vehicle slowly fading away into the distance. When the footage is eventually turned back on, we can hear Reese and Bradley walking through the darkness. All we see are the feet and bottom legs of Reese along the dirt trail, visible only by his flashlight. From the tone of the boys' voices, they are clearly terrified, having no idea where they are or even what direction they're heading in. Bradley: "We really had to visit your great-granddad's grave, didn't we?" Reese: "Drop it, Brad, will you?" Bradley: "I said coming here was a bad idea, and now look where we are. I don't even bloody know where we are." Reese: "Well, how the hell did I know this would happen?" Some time seems to pass, and the boys are still walking along the dirt trail through the darkness. Still working the camera, Bradley is audibly exhausted. The boys keep talking to each other, hoping to soon find any shred of civilization, when suddenly, Reese tells Bradley to be quiet. In the silence of the dark, quiet night air, a distant noise is only just audible. Reese: "Do you hear that?" Both of the boys hear it, and sounds to be rummaging of some kind. In a quiet tone, Reese tells Bradley that something is moving out in the brush on the right-hand side of the trail. Believing this to be a wild animal, the boys continue concernedly along the trail. Bradley: "What if it's a predator?" Reese: "There aren't any predators here. It's probably just a gazelle or something." However, as they keep walking, the sound eventually comes back, and is now audibly closer. Whatever the sound is, it is clearly coming from more than one animal. Unaware what wild animals even roam this area, the boys start moving at a faster pace, but the sound seems to follow them, and can clearly be heard moving closer. Reese: "Just keep moving, Brad. They'll lose interest eventually." Picking up the pace even more, the sound of rummaging through the brush transitions to something else. What is heard, alongside the heavy breaths and footsteps of the boys, is the sound of animalistic whining and chirping. The audio becomes distorted for around a minute, before the boys seemingly come to a halt. By each other's side, the audio comes back to normal, and Reese, barely visible by his flashlight, frantically yells at Bradley that they're no longer on the trail. Reese: "The road! Where's the road?" Bradley: "Why are you asking me?" Searching the ground drastically, the boys begin to panic, but the sound of rummaging soon returns around them, alongside the whines and chirps. Again, the footage distorts, but through the darkness of the surrounding night, more than a dozen small lights are picked up, seemingly from all directions. Bradley: "Oh shit." 20 or so meters away, it does not take long for the boys to realize these lights are actually eyes. Eyes belonging to a pack of clearly predatory animals. Bradley: "What do we do?" Reese: I don't know. All we see now from the footage are the many blinking eyes staring towards the two boys. The whines continue frantically, audibly excited, and as the seconds pass, the sound of these animals becomes ever louder, gaining towards them. The continued whines and chirps become so loud that the footage again becomes distorted, before cutting out for a final time. To this day, more than a decade later, the remains of both Reese Williams and Bradley Cawthorne have yet to be found. From the evidence described in the footage, authorities came to the conclusion that whatever these animals were, they had been responsible for both of the boys' disappearances. But why the bodies of the boys have yet to be found still remains a mystery. Zoologists who reviewed the footage determined that the whines and chirps could only have come from one species known to South Africa, African wild dogs. What further supports this assessment is that when the remains of the construction workers were autopsied back in the 90s, teeth marks left by the scavengers were also identified as belonging to African wild dogs. However, this only leaves more questions than answers. Although there are African wild dogs in the KwaZulu-Natal province, particularly at the Hlulue Imfolozi Game Reserve. No populations whatsoever of African wild dogs have been known to roam around the Rorke's Drift area. In fact, there are no more than 650 wild dogs left in South Africa, so how a pack of these animals have managed to roam undetected around the Rorke's Drift area for 2 decades has only baffled zoologists and experts alike. As for the mysterious driver who left the boys to their fate, a full investigation was carried out to find him. Upon interviewing several farmers and residents around the area, authorities could not find a single person who matched what they knew of the driver's description, confirmed by Reese and Bradley in the footage. A late 50 to mid-60-year-old Caucasian male. When these residents were asked if they knew a man of this description, every one of them gave the same answer. There were no white men known to live in or around the Rorke's Drift area. Upon releasing details of the footage to the public, many theories have been acquired over the years, both plausible and extravagant. The most plausible theory is that whoever this mystery driver was, he had helped the local residents of Rorke's Drift in abducting the 7 construction workers before leaving their bodies to the scavengers. If this theory is to be believed, then the purpose of this crime may have been to bring a halt to any plans for tourism in the area. When it comes to Rhys Williams and Bradley Cawthorne, 2 British tourists, it's believed the same operation was carried out on them, leaving the boys to die in the wilderness and later disposing of the bodies. Although this may be the most plausible theory, several ends are still left untied. If the bodies were disposed of, why did they leave Rhys's rugby shirt? More importantly, why did they leave the video camera with the footage? If the unknown driver or the Rorke's Drift residents were responsible for the boys' disappearances, surely they wouldn't have left any clear evidence of the crime. One of the more outlandish theories, and one particularly intriguing to paranormal communities, is that Rorke's Drift is haunted by the spirits of the Zulu warriors who died in the battle. Spirits that take on the form of wild animals, forever trying to rid their enemies from their land. In order to appease these spirits, theorists have suggested that the residents may have abducted outsiders, only to leave them to the fate of the spirits. Others have suggested that the residents are themselves shapeshifters, and when outsiders come and disturb their way of life, they transform into predatory animals and kill them. Despite the many theories as to what happened to Rhys Williams and Bradley Cawthorne, the circumstances of their deaths and disappearances remain a mystery to this day. The culprits involved are yet to be identified, whether that be human, animal, or something else. We may never know what really happened to these boys, and just like the many dark mysteries of the world, we may never know what evil still lies inside of Rorke's Drift, South Africa.